Hello and welcome to another episode of Ruck N Roll, where we look back at last week's action and look forward to the all-important Bradby Shield as well on PodHub. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into the show. As you know, the champions have been crowned in the Schools League 2024, and those champions are, of course, St. Peter's. We'll be talking to Coach Sanath Martis later on in the show, find out exactly how he managed to mastermind this win. But congratulations to Dulaj Navodaya and the rest of his team for winning the league unbeaten. A fantastic performance from him and his team. And of course, we'll look back at the rest of the week's action. We had two other games, one trophy game, and of course, another league game that is a dress rehearsal for what we've got coming up next, which is a look forward at the two Bradbys. Join me and Abdullah Yusuf as we dive into last week's action with Siat. The road is yours.
Siat Car Radials. The road is yours.
As usual on the Ruck N Roll, we're looking back at last week's results. The championship was on the line and it was a superb finale as well. Well done to St. Peter's. We had a couple of other games over the weekend as well. And of course, we'll be looking forward to next week's action in the first leg of the Bradby Shield. Joining us to review and preview all that, my usual partner in crime, Abdullah Yusuf, back in the studio after a short break. Abdullah, welcome back. It was a superb game at Havelock Park. It was a close, tense affair. Not the kind of game we were expecting, but the underfoot conditions will do that for you.
Absolutely, but yet what a wonderful finale is the Chanaka. It had all the tension that you'd want in a game of that magnitude. I thought the Peterites defense eventually probably won them that league. Isipatana did throw everything at them. But just given the underfoot conditions and the overall atmosphere that was created, I thought it was a befitting final for what has been a wonderful league tournament.
It has been a superb league tournament, and St. Peter's really outsmarting Isipatana on the day. It was just 6-3, but when you actually look back and watch that game, Isipatana never looked like they were going to really threaten. Yes, they did come close on a few occasions, but you always got that feeling. You get that feeling, don't you, Abdullah, in a game? When you make that first hit or make that first tackle, sometimes you just know it's your day, and I felt that the Peterites knew it that day.
Yeah, that's right. And also, probably the conditions suited the Peterites probably more than what it did for Isipatana. Soon as the rains came down, you know that probably the equilibrium will slightly shift towards St. Peter's, with Isipatana, as we all know, would prefer dry conditions where they can play with a bit more width. But yet I thought Isipatana did adjust to a certain extent, but the Peterites, as we mentioned earlier, their defense was just outstanding.
Tactical kicking was really on point on the day, and I thought Shakib Zumri and Rahul Peter, the two fly halves on both teams, I thought they were both excellent, Abdullah, because it was a game where they really had to manage field position, make sure that their teams were playing in the right areas, and both of them actually managed that. And for St. Peter's, like we said, it was just a superior defense of their forward pack. I thought Dulaj Navodaya, the captain, really led from the front, making those tackles, really competing in those rucks, and it was just too much for Isipatana on the day.
Yeah, that's right. So that's where the point of difference between both teams was always going to be, isn't it? The Peterite 8 against the Isipatana 8. Probably the three quarters, both have wonderful three quarters, probably negate each other. But where you felt that the Peterites have an edge is in their forward pack. And once the conditions as what it was, you always knew it was going to be an uphill task for the Isipatana lads.
Yeah, it was really a fantastic performance. And Abdullah, we talked about the defense and the offense and how Peter's defense has won this game. They started off the season with 112 points against Thurston. So obviously they're a team that can attack well. But this time, when we look at St. Thomas's as well, they've been a team that can attack well. They've scored 40 points, they've scored 50 points a few times, but they also let in 30 points and 40 points. When they score 50, they let in 40. But St. Peter's doesn't do that. And that's difficult to build, isn't it? A team that can attack well, defend well, and also play a really good kicking game when their forte is actually a running game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other important thing is to adapt to conditions, which I thought St. Peter's did extremely well. And of course, the age-old saying goes, defense is what wins you championships. And this proved it, because they probably wouldn't have experienced these kind of conditions in this kind of a pressure cooker environment. But they adjusted. They knew that their defense will have to be on point against a very good Isipatana three-quarter line. And that's exactly what they did, and deserved league champions.
Let's find out a little bit more from Mr. Sanath Martis, the coach of the champion side, a little bit later on Ruck N Roll. But congratulations to Dulaj Nawadi. You can see how happy he looks there, Abdullah. Just the 2 penalties in the game, as you saw before, and one to Shakib Zumri, who kicked one over from under the posts when I thought they really needed to go for the try with about 12 to 15 minutes left in the game. It was an under the post penalty, and they were already behind by 6 points to nil. I really thought they needed to go for the win, or for at least for the try in that moment, but they chose the conservative option, and I thought Isipatana maybe have pulled back, not playing the same amount of expansive rugby or taking the same kind of risks that we've seen them score and seen them do previously, and that might have been their undoing, because that is in their DNA. Let's look now to the other games that we had over the course of the last weekend. We had a trophy game that was played on the Monday as well. That was for the Lady Jayatilaka Trophy, and St. Joseph's coming a cropper, even though they hosted that game at Havelock Park. They lost to St. Thomas's by 43 points to 31. Again, a scrappy game in what was atrocious conditions once again. So the second time in 3 days that the ground had been used. So you can imagine what it looked like, Abdullah. So 43 points, but again, 31 points against, 11 tries in that game as well. And St. Thomas is managing to convert a few more and putting over a penalty as well. But not the kind of game for the purists. The coaches will be tearing their hair out.
Yeah, that's right. Especially the amount of tries that were leaked by both teams, isn't it? That's probably what both teams, or rather both coaching staff would have not been very pleased with. But you would also just sense that both teams just seemed a little bit more relaxed. They're willing to take a few more chances as well. And thus the scoreline is what it is.
Yeah, so St. Thomas's will be very happy to have won their second trophy of the season. And unfortunately for the Joes, their dismal season continues. And they will be hoping that maybe they can pick up something in the knockouts. If they are playing, that is, we haven't really got any confirmation of whether St. Joseph's are going to be a part of it or not. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But good win for St. Thomas's. Now, Abdullah, you were at this game, which is why we missed you in the commentary box at the finale. But you were watching Trinity playing Royal in what was essentially a dead rubber and a dress rehearsal for the big ones that we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks. 22 points to 19, and at one point it was 22-0. What do you make of that game?
Yes, well, as soon as you went and had a look at the team sheets, you probably realized that both the coaches were having an eye on next week's game. Because a lot of players were rested from both teams. Royal in that first half, they were outstanding. They got plenty of front football. In wet conditions, they were playing end-to-end. They really stretched the Trinity defense out. Trinity also had a lot of their key players on the bench. They need to keep that in mind as well. But despite that, I thought Royal's execution, ball handling, decision-making was of top-notch in that first half. But then in the second half, things just completely went the other way.
And why was that, Abdullah? Was it because Trinity brought their starters off the bench, or did Royal perhaps decide, okay, enough is enough, let's just keep our reserves on for next week?
Yeah, well, I thought Royal felt that they had done the job. And also Trinity did bring a few of their key players, like I think the fly half Shan Altaf. They did come and make a bit of a difference. And I also sense that Trinity would have realized that they don't want to take an absolute hammering and go into the Bradby. A loss would have been okay as long as it was close. So they definitely upped the tempo in that second half. Royal, on the other hand, probably took a few of their experienced players out of the field as well. But one area where Trinity really excelled in that second half was in the line out. 2 of their 3 tries came from driving mauls, and they negated Royal's driving maul as well. So they definitely sent a message out to Royal. It's something that Royal will need to keep in mind, because over the years they have built a real reputation in terms of winning their line-out ball and getting their rolling ball going. But Trinity were brilliant in that aspect, especially in the second half, where they negated the Royals' driving ball and they managed to execute their driving ball, and Royal just did not have an answer for it. So it's something which probably the coaching staff of Royal College will need to look closely going into that first leg.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Abdullah, because Royal have had a reputation in the recent years for being a side that's really good at the driving ball and scoring a majority of their tries off that. But now they've started to run a little bit more. Do you think it's a deliberate reaction to people saying, look, we need to do a little bit more than just drive our way over from close range?
Well, I think they've needed to adjust, isn't it? Because now that surprise element isn't there anymore. Teams come into the game against Royal knowing that the driving ball is a key weapon, so they would have practiced it in the week leading up to a Royal game, and they will know that they need to negate it. So Royal do realize that they need to find other ways of scoring, and also to keep the other team guessing as well. The rolling ball is not the only form of attack. So it's just that I think the execution in this match also, Royal did not have their key line-out jumper in Boneka Senanayake. He was rested, so him coming in will definitely help the line-out. But I think that's an area where they will definitely need to brush up. First, in terms of winning the line-out, then getting that driving ball more effective, because I thought Trinity did really well to stop that driving ball. And of course, thirdly, to get to defend the driving ball as well. Royal just seem to have forgotten that they need to defend, and that another team can employ the driving ball against them. So it's a good wake-up call for Royal in this game, and I'm sure they'll work on that leading in to the all-important first leg.
Well, it's not just 70 minutes of rugby that wins you the game in the Bradby Shield. It's a 140-minute game, so that's going to be important as well. Plenty can change in those 2 weeks as well. So Royal playing at home in the first leg will want to take a sizable lead to Pallakele.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Trinity's record in Pallakele is pretty strong. And even last year, despite Royal going in as favourites, Trinity did manage to win the first leg last year. So Royal will want to win and win well, and carry a reasonable lead going into Pallakele, because the last thing they'd want to do is go up to Pallakele and having to play catch-up rugby.
And it's been 10 years of dominance, Abdullah. The last time Trinity won this was under Harin Kaluaratchi in 2014. It's 2024 now. Royal have done pretty well to have that 10-year gap. Do you think they're going to extend it?
Yes, well, the way the season started off, I'd probably have felt at that time that Royal definitely have an edge. But Trinity, to their credit, as the season has gone on, they just seem to have got better. They have not got the victories that they would have liked, but yet their performances have been quite good. So I've seen enough of Trinity to realize that they're going to be a threat. On paper, in the first leg, Royal playing at home will probably go in as favourites, but they will definitely need to bring their A game if they are to come out victorious.
Yes, we'll wait and see what happens on the day. Of course, hopefully Abdullah and I will be back together in the commentary box, if I don't get banned before that is. Thanks very much for joining us, Abdullah. Congratulations once again to St. Peter's for winning the league. And of course, good luck to both Trinity and Royal for the upcoming Bradby. Thanks.
Fiat Car Radials. The road is yours.
On Ruck N Roll, we bring you the people that matter. A man who has run out of space in his trophy cabinet with these league trophies. Second time St. Peter's are unbeaten league champions under the guidance of head coach Sanath Martis, who joins us on Ruck N Roll. We're very happy to have him with us. Congratulations, Coach Martis, your second year in a row. How do you feel after that big win on Saturday?
We are so happy because end of the day, our effort came to a true, and also I must tell you, Shanaka, every time you're talking to me, you're praising me, and it's actually to tell you, not only me. My two assistant coaches, Rajiv and Banuka, were tremendously out of the box because and getting run uh, it's not every time Sanath Martis did this, not necessary. Joined especially college station, the all boys, the sponsors, especially called Mr. Temia Diminel, has done a wonderful job. We always, it's a great effort with all of us.
Thank you, Sanath. I think we need to mention those coaches as well, Banuka, Rajiv, who are very well known in the field of rugby, and of course, very well known to St. Peters, and of course, all the old boys. I remember being there at the felicitation of the sponsors at the beginning of the season, coach, and from then on, it's been a long way to get to this point. A lot of organization and a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that that a lot of people don't see.
That's true. That's true. Because it's the most of the all boys working very tremendous effort, and the sponsors, not forgetting sponsors. I can't remember all the sponsors, but not forgetting everyone, including our ground boys. Right, they have done a wonderful job, including the physio doctor. Our physio 24/7 is working. A name called Ruck Silva. And the boys, and they have put tremendous effort because they were all out to win all these three trophies, and they were working hard, and they have cut down all their parties, they have cut down all their late nights, and I think they have lost their studies, and most of the boys are determined to do their A levels next year. With 100%. Therefore, they sacrifice their studies to win this trophy. And I hope that they will not enjoy a good food even during this period. With all this effort only, we have won this trophy. It's not only Martis.
Yes, for sure. But tell us about the game on the day, coach. It was a difficult conditions to play rugby in, whatever style you wanted to play. But you have been a very attacking team for the whole season, but you managed to win this one with your defense.
Yeah, because to tell you frankly, this is the actual truth. Somehow or other, I felt that on that day, our backline couldn't work. Backline will not work. And I told my boys, especially the forwards, look here, you guys must come forward and play this. If you want to win this game, because for beginning of the we have just gone through the vision on that particular day, and we realized it's a rainy day, and forward has to do a lot of, and because we know that everyone Tia Dumbri of Sipatana is a very good player, and if he didn't tackle him properly, he can win any game. Therefore, we work hard. And also we have strengthened our defense line. Right, everybody is determined to defend, and I think about 20th, 25th minute, our main weapon, Yumet Chihara, got injured, and he's out of the season. Chin bone fracture, serious injury, and have a proper replacement to that place. Then we got down Pasiduk Bandara as number 30, and the Limsara as fullback, and but it didn't work properly, and we for the knockout week, I think we will have to work hard and replace him accordingly.
Yes, he's a key player, and we are glad he's doing well. And we also saw some photographs on social media of the Isipatana team visiting him and just giving them their good wishes. Yumit Chihara has been a key part of your season so far. You will definitely miss him, but also your captain played a stunning game on the day, Sanath, because he was everywhere in defense. I know you don't like to single out individual players, but he was very good.
I accepted, highly accepted, because from the day that we have appointed, he showed the real leadership. He's a team, and he got in. Not forget to other players, but I am expected. He did a good job. He did a job. There's no words about it.
Yes, and I think the entire team around you has done a fantastic job. Congratulations on yet another league win. What's next for Sanath Martis, coach? Are you able to tell us now, or do we have to wait and see?
Because we are aiming the triple, and we are going all out to win the knockout. They are a dream, right? And I know that it is not easy. It's not easy. Now, in our group, we get for the first against St. Joseph. I got to know that they are not going to participate no day after that. But then we semi-finals, winners of DS and West, and that will be a D match for us. Then finally, of course, if we come to the finals, we have to repeat Isipatana match again.
Yes, it's going to be an interesting tournament for sure. And looking forward to you playing DS and Isipatana, who are two of the best sides this season. So let's see how we go. Thanks very much, Coach Sanath Martis, for joining us. Congratulations once again. Speedy recovery to Yumit Chihara, and congratulations to all your team as well, with our best wishes from Ruck N Roll.
And also interrupt you, Chanaka, and I must tell this because Isipatana has organized the match. Isipatana Rugby Committee has organized the match very, and we are ready to go to them.
Yes, I was there on the day, and it was a difficult day to play rugby, but I think they did a great job. Thanks very much for joining us once again, Coach. That was head coach of St. Peter's, Coach Sanath Martis, joining us on Ruck N Roll. Unfortunately, we've not been able to talk to the coaches of Trinity and Royal. Coach Dushant Luke very kindly said that he will be willing to come on the show. Unfortunately, we couldn't get our timings right, and of course, we've not had from Fazil Marija, unfortunately, because there is a media gag and they need to get permission before coming on the show. And funnily enough, I feel like I have a little bit more access to some of the coaches when I'm at the Rugby World Cup rather than in the Schools League. But I didn't want to speak only to Coach Leuke because we don't want Royal and Trinity not giving their secrets out together. So we'll speak to those guys maybe in between the legs. No, I didn't mean to say that. In between the first leg and the second leg of the Bradby, we'll talk to them and see what's cooking as well. So thanks again to Sanath Martis for joining us on the show. You know by now that on Ruck N Roll, we talk to the people that matter, looking forward to the things that we like to look at and getting the in-depth analysis on what is going on in schools rugby and what we'd like to know about rugby, the game in general. I'm talking to a very old friend at the moment. Not that he's very old, but he's a very old friend. And he's back in Sri Lanka. It's great to have him on the show. Former Royal College captain of 2001 and Bradby winner of that year as well. Ex-Sri Lanka player, ex-CRNFC player, and now, unfortunately, a Canada resident, Mr. Harin Kaluaratchi, joining us on Ruck N Roll. Hi, Karul. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Good to be here, my friend.
You had to migrate in order to escape being on my show previously, but you couldn't escape this one.
No. I mean, you know what? My studies took me overseas, and that was to the US. I spent a couple of years there. During that time, I was fortunate enough. I was in college, university, as they call it. Spent a couple of summers coming back, playing for CRNFC. great years of my life. Once I graduated, my parents told me, time to hang up the boots and do my next level of studies. So I went into my MBA in Vancouver, Canada, and I stayed there. And as you know, my wife was living there at that time, and that's home now.
Yeah, and so his wife migrated, his then girlfriend migrated to try and get away from him. But you've always been a good defender, Kalu. You caught up to her.
Yeah, I chased her down, my friend.
Well, Harin, that's an interesting place to start, actually, because you talked about studies and you didn't play a lot longer after school. I mean, you were one of the prodigies coming out of Royal College, and you went into the CR team in the same year that you played for Royal. Then you played for Sri Lanka very early on as well under coach George Simkin. And we all thought that you were going to go the distance, but at some point you need to make a choice, isn't it? And that's kind of unfortunate nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, rugby it gets you to certain places, but it doesn't get you there in Sri Lanka. And I think for most part in Canada as well, I mean, professional sport over there. So I did make a choice. I think it was the right choice. I would have liked to have played a little bit longer. I had the opportunity to play from 2001 to, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 was when I stopped playing. I remember my last game under Pavitra Fernando. We had a touch and go situation there, and we lost to Candy. And that was the league as well, and that was the end of my career. But you know what? I've learned a lot from the sport. I like to give back. And over the last 18 months, there's been quite a few Sri Lankans, ex-rugby players who've moved over to Canada, to Vancouver itself, and I've had the pleasure of playing touch rugby on a Sunday with them. As you know, Shehan Patirana, Lema as they call him, he's over there. Richie Dharmapala is there. And you know what, those boys are a pleasure to play with on a Sunday. And you know what, you can tell they have a great head on their shoulders as well. So, I mean, Sri Lanka and the sport is doing something right.
Yeah, it is. And we were just speaking to Coach Sanath Martis, the a double-winning coach at the moment of St. Peter's, Kalu, and he was saying that the boys have kind of foregone their studies and hoping to do their A-levels next year. And for a lot of parents listening, that sounds like the worst thing to do, right? It sounds like the most horrible thing that you can encourage a schoolboy to do. But what's your take on that?
You know what? It's a balance. Right, so I'll be honest. I was totally focused on my sports as well. I didn't really put my foot down when it came to my A levels. However, when the time was right, I knew when to pull the trigger, and take that forward. And what the sport teaches you is that you know how to fail. Just keep going, and I see that in these boys that I've been able to hang around with and mentor to some degree, is that they don't fail, and they're doing well even there because they've got that must-win mentality. Good kids, and there is a balance between studies and sports for sure, and I think I chose both, I would say.
Yeah, and just to ask you, do you think that not doing your A-levels when you're 19 years old and maybe postponing it a year is the end of the world?
I don't think so. I actually don't think so. You know what? Yeah, maybe it does push you back 12 months, maybe a little bit long. The repercussions of not playing or having that regret of not experiencing a Joe Pete, a Bradby, a Royal Tomian, an Isipatana game, playing with that green jersey, you can see that they've got a crazy brand as well. I think that's going to have more of a lasting impact in terms of regret if you don't make that choice. However, paperweight is important, right? We all know that. And it's studies and that ability to navigate once you're done with the school, that's what really takes you forward. So you have to know when to pull the trigger. And it's interesting you say that. I feel that the school's rugby scene is great. Like, that is such an awesome machine that we have. It's very unique to the world, I would say. The only place that I could draw parallels with is South Africa, where we have such a competitive high school league. I think the boys could, the kids who play this can benefit from a mentorship program, whether that's within the school, with its cross pollination with other schools. I think there's opportunity there. There's different perspectives. I mean, we're all here to win and do well. And if you can give back to some of these kids, I think there's no value you can put on that. That value is going to last a long time.
Well, you might have just put your foot in it, Kalu, because we might just be coming back to you to lead up programs like that, and that is fantastic
No
for you.
problem.
Yeah, that's great,
No
and
problem.
that's what we need from people who have left the game maybe a little earlier than they should to give back. Because I hear what you're saying about the pain of regret. Because I made the opposite choice. My mom told me you're doing your A levels and nothing else, and I listened to her as I still do. And I wish I'd played a little bit longer than I did. But the fact is that it is a balance, and each person has to find their own one. So that's something that will be good to leave viewers with. But you're here for the Bradby after a long time, Kalu, and you're excited to be going for the first leg. I know that for sure. This is an exciting week for an ex-Royal Rugby player. What's on the cards?
Yeah, so we've got, being part of the fraternity, we have a rugby dinner and meet all the ex-players on the Friday night. Looking forward to that. I'm getting to meet some of my teammates who I haven't seen in a long time. And then on Saturday, we head over to the Royal Complex. I've actually been there a couple of times, and you know what, I come there to watch some of the practices, some of the junior practices. I mean, it's such a big feeling, and some of these boys, they're only 19, but the weight they get, what they do, it literally crosses balls. If you think about it, I've got all boys groups who gather at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. In a 24-hour restaurant somewhere in Vancouver where they can watch the game. It means a lot to these folks what they do, right? And I hope these kids eventually find that out, the magnitude of their actions when they take on the field. Schools, right? Such a great tradition. And some of my mentors, like a Trinitarian who helped me, I was at CRNFC. Those are people, and they know the system. It's rivalry at a different level.
Yeah, it is. It is rivalry and it is camaraderie at a different level. It's fantastic to see. And as you said, you used the word brand, and I think we're using the word brand when it comes to the individual schools, whereas we really should be looking as the schools rugby league, their entire package as a brand, and really trying to pull people in as a collective rather than in individual silos. You're taking your little boy to his first Bradby. Kalu, tell me, what does that feel for you? Do you remember being taken by your dad, who also captained Royal?
Yeah, you know what? It's quite an exciting time. He's never been to a game. My dad's pretty excited as well. He's bought the whole family little blue and gold gollywogs, and he's insisting that we sit together. You know what? It is, again, like, I go back to the tradition of it. He doesn't know, my little guy doesn't know what a Bradby is, or that a high school game can draw that many people with that much passion at a single event. They don't have that overseas. They actually don't have that overseas. So I visited the practice session of a junior team at Royal. And I was watching them, and I was told it was the under 12 or under 14 team. I'm not sure, but they were young, and they were so organized in the way they played. And then when I look at my little guys club, which is actually a hotbed for the under 19s and the under 20s and beyond, where they have some of the Canadian players coming out of that club. I was surprised at how good the Sri Lankan teams are. Where they would actually be able to compete with some of these teams, because if they were to go head to head with the under 12 team in Canada, the Sri Lankan team would win. I would say that hands down. However, there's something that happens between the ages of 16, 17, 18, probably physicality, nutrition, and to some degree training as well, where it switches and we fall off the map. And I think as an administrator, if you focus on that, I think we'll be able to do a little bit more in terms of our performance on the global scale.
Yeah, and I mean, you were part of that team that went to Chile as well, Harin, in the Junior Rugby World Cup Championship. I mean, you played against guys like Sam Tuitupu and Joe Rokathoko, Dougie Howlett. Those guys were part of the competition that you guys qualified for under Jeevan Gunathilaka. What did you feel was the main difference between you and them? Obviously, you had the talent, but what was the difference at that level, at under 19 level?
Physicality. It was physicality for sure. I remember playing the German team. We played the German team, we played the Czech team, the US team, and a couple of other teams there. And it was just the constant hitting from a physicality standpoint. I think there is a breakdown that happens when when the cadence is there in terms of the hits. But I don't want to take anything away from that team. That team was, I think, an anomaly to some degree. We were really good, right? It was not. There were no superstars. There were really talented individuals who knew how to use everyone else's talents to their benefit, and vice versa.
Yeah, it was that was a good team, and one of your old teammates at Royal and at under 23 level, and also at on that Sri Lanka team is now the coach. You said you lost your last game to Kandy, but he managed to do that and actually get revenge after a long time, beating Kandy in Kandy, Dushanth Luke, for your old club, CRNFC. How proud are you as someone watching him on the bench, as someone who's played with him?
Oh. That was a very proud moment for all of us. I mean, I think the closest we got before that was when I played, and it was a disappointment after disappointment after that. You know, you get so close and then you're far, and you land kind of short. However, Leuke is just a phenomenal coach, in my opinion. I think he really knows how to exploit the team's strengths, and then also on the flip side, kind of figure out where the weaknesses lie, and he just keeps punching holes there. It's not only Leuke though, right? I'm going back to Royal. You got Radhika Hetty, who's in there, and an entire team of really good professionals behind the Royal engine. Coming back to Sia, I'm not sure who the folks are behind the engine, but they did such a fantastic job.
Yeah, it really was an outstanding season for CRNFC, and I'm sure you're hoping that he will be able to repeat that from the red shirt into the blue and gold shirt. What are your predictions, Kalu? How do you see the game going? It's been 10 years of dominance for Royal.
You know what? We're fortunate. We have two legs. I just want to see a great game of rugby. A very close friend of mine who is a Trinitian, who I played against, try to do a little bit of black magic and make me drink out of a glass with a Trinity logo on it. Me and a couple of other ex-sportsmen from other fields hope, Ghana, it's not going to happen for you, but I do hope that there's going to be a great game of rugby. You know what? Bradby is such a great brand, such a great atmosphere. I'm going to see some of my old teammates and some of the people I looked up to when I was growing up, and you know what? I'm looking forward to my little guy experiencing that, along with my family as well, seeing what the Bradby is all about.
Fantastic. And I remember you telling me just before we let you go, Kalu, that you once stopped John de Villiers at the Commonwealth Games in, I don't know whether it was Glasgow or Edinburgh, and you said the crowd just erupted when you came on the big screen. Like, contrast that experience with the Bradby experience, and how close is it? How far is it?
You know what? Oh, just a correction. I didn't stop him. I didn't tackle him. He just took me over the lawn. You know what? It's totally different. That's where I need to focus more on the national pride as well, and playing. And you know what? School level is different. The Bradby, you grow up with that hype. That hey, Bradby as a Royal Rugby player, you've made it. I think we can do a little bit better in the Sri Lanka group as well. But look, like, that was a crazy experience for me. I talk about that all the time when I talk about the value of understanding the situation you're in and trying to make the most of it. And it was a great experience. There's no doubt about it. It was in Manchester in 2002 actually, where we played Africa, and it was a pretty good experience for me.
Great, Kalu, and I hope it's going to be as good an experience for Tarun when he sees Reed Avenue in all its glory on Saturday. Thanks a lot for joining us. It's been great chatting, and have a safe trip back after the game.
Thank you so much, Ranaka. See you soon. All the best.
Cheers. That was Harin Kaluaratchi, ex-Royal captain of 2001, Bradby winner. And if I remember right, probably the first time the Bradby was played at the Royal College Sports Complex. If I remember right, I'm sure a Royalist is going to correct me. They love doing that. And so that brings us to an end of that conversation. Great to have Harin on the show, talking about not just the Bradby, but about rugby and about life after rugby, life during rugby, and all of those things. So hope you guys enjoyed that chat. We'll be back on Ruck N Roll in just a moment.
Getting stuck in traffic at rush hour, you can't decide. But where you have a late lunch, you decide. Udside is the easiest, most exciting way of getting the best value for your next meal. Download the Udside app now.
So unlike a lot of things in Sri Lanka, Ruck N Roll is a democratic show. We like you to decide things, and so do the people at Udside. They like you to decide where you would like to go to eat, where you would like to get the best deals, and helps restaurants to give you those deals, personalize them for you as well. That's what we did last week when we brought you the offer of a Papa Rich voucher, a 4,000 rupee Papa Rich voucher as well. All you had to do was download the Udside app, take a screenshot of that download on your phone, predict the winner in the comment section of our Instagram and Facebook posts, and attach the screenshot. But hurry, entries close on 4:30 on game day, and this week you have to tell us who's going to win the first leg of the Bradby between Royal and Trinity. Who is going to win that? Don't forget, you have to download the Udside app. Look for it. That's the logo there in between the Pod Hub logos. Look for that logo and download the app, and make sure you send us your predictions by 4:30 on Saturday, and you stand yourself a chance to win a fabulous Papa Rich voucher worth 4,000 rupees. And this is the winner of last week. Chintan Bongsu, congratulations for becoming our first Udside winner. Use the app, tell us about it in the comments as well, and enjoy your Papa Rich meal.
Getting stuck in traffic at rush hour, you can't decide. But where you have a late lunch, you decide. Udside is the easiest, most exciting way of getting the best value for your next meal. Download the Udside app now.
Well, that brings us to an end of another action-packed show. Thanks for hitting us up on Ruck N Roll. Make sure that you connect with us on Pod Hub, on the Facebook page, as well as the YouTube channel. And join us next time for far more action. We're looking ahead at the Bradby. And don't forget, you've got your Udside vouchers to win as well. So join us next time.